Brahmaviharidas, thank you so much for hosting me over here and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I feel privileged and thank you for just being here.
So the privilege is mine to be over here on this magnificent site before it's inaugurated. We have this beautiful mandir in the background. So I have so much to ask you, but let's begin with the mandir itself. What's the story of the mandir?
Well, it's very natural, and I believe everything that is natural are almost immortal.
Hmm?
And I remember in 1997, it was the 5th of April, His Holiness Pramukh Swami Maharaj, who was my guru, who initiated me into the monkhood. And we were all there in Sharjah in the desert. And it was about this time itself, the sun was just about to set. And very naturally, there was a small dust storm. And he started saying prayers, as it was with him naturally. And out of the blue, he said, may there be a temple in Abu Dhabi. And may that temple bring countries, cultures, and religions closer together. And he added that may every country become free from internal enmity, prejudice, and may they progress in their own unique way. So this is a gist of the prayer that he said, and we all of us joined in that prayer.
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, at that time, it was almost like, I shouldn't use the word, but it was like wishful thinking to me, because I was sitting there in front of him. There was about maybe 8-9 monks and 10-11 devotees. Because that was the time when it was also very difficult or unthinkable to go to Abu Dhabi in these saffron clothes.
I see.
It wasn't that there was this law, but it was in the air that, people felt that, maybe we don't have that freedom, or maybe we should not cross lines. And nobody could read what was there, but still it was in the air that, okay, we remain quiet, we remain in Dubai, we stay in our devotees' homes, and then we meet people and talk about spirituality more on a personal level, but nothing much public.
Okay.
So when he said that, and then it almost became like a fun line that whenever we wanted to do something, we'll say, Swami, Abu Dhabi, and he will say, oh, everybody would laugh.
Mm-hmm.
But then I look at it in hindsight, that, when things unfolded, in fact, at that time when I joined him on his spiritual travels to Dubai, I was like an extra. There was a group of about 8-9 saints who were already pre-decided. And in Anand, we were there after a big festival. Suddenly, he was very casual. And he asked me, are you free? I said, look, I am your disciple. You don't have to ask me, am I free? He said, no, if you are, then join us to our trip to Dubai. Okay. So I had come on as an extra.
I see.
But I remembered those words. In fact, somebody had recorded those words. We have beautiful pictures of that time.
I've seen that.
And as we went on, slowly, people would come here once or twice in a year to meet devotees for a function and have some small spiritual gathering, but nothing substantial.
Mm-hmm.
As time went and we went on and things just became a little more inclusive, I myself started coming here often for one reason or another, mostly spiritual. And it was in 2010 and 11 that devotees came together. We had a very small place in Hollands. It was maybe 25 feet by 24 feet whole. In that, our devotees would gather quietly. And that went on for almost 32 years.
Okay.
Very quietly.
Mm-hmm.
One fine day, I said, why don't we move to a bigger place? But then again, you needed permission. You needed that official authorization from the CDA, Community Development Authorities.
Mm-hmm.
And every time our devotees went onto the site, it was just too difficult because the regulations and things that you had to put in, the registration was quite, complicated at that time.
I see.
So what we decided is to two of our devotees decided to rent out a small villa, and that was in Al Satwa. That's near the Burj Khalifa area
In Dubai.
in Dubai.
Okay.
And Abu Dhabi was never in our mind at that time.
I see. It was only
telling you,
Dubai.
yeah. It's all about Dubai.
Okay.
Okay. And the majority of our devotees were in Dubai.
I see.
And very naturally, the authorities were kind-hearted, because as long as you did not disturb public life and as long as you did everything in-house, they were happy. And obviously, the Indian community that has been staying here in this country, and all our forefathers, the impact they have had and the trust they have gained and the honesty and the hard work they have done. And I believe being such a peaceful community had already won the hearts of the rulers and the leaders. Very often you go around and this would be something you will hear from everyone. And so when we had this small villa, and we started doing our small gathering once in every Friday. One wise man, obviously, he said, okay, this one small room is too small, so let's break the wall in between these small rooms to make the room a little larger.
Okay.
But none of us were aware that in UAE, you can't even change the interior walls of your own home without prior permission.
I see.
And it was an inadvertent mistake. And of course, it's not something that normally anybody would do, because we are a very responsible social spiritual organization. And our spiritual leader, Pramukh Swami, has always told us that the first thing you do is respect the host nation.
Absolutely.
And respect the laws.
Yes.
God never tells you to break laws. If he's so particular about the laws he has set, of course he's so particular about the laws that we generate. And but inadvertently somebody had done that. We got a notice from the municipality, and as we went down to explain that yes, this was not correct, but we will correct what has happened. And in that meantime, very naturally, I went to one of the majlis of the royal family members. And again, everybody at that time said that, Swami, I don't think, because men in orange have not normally visited the majlises like that. I'm talking about in 2013, in those times.
What's a majlis?
Majlis is the royal family members. They have an area. It's almost like a reception.
Okay.
Where, at a certain time, people come to see the royal family members. That may be the ruler or his brothers or his cousins. They're all royal family.
Okay.
And they're part of the government as well. And you could walk in and you sit quietly and you shake the hand and then, pay respect to the sheikh, and then you sit. And if he desires to talk to you, you talk. And sometimes people talk, but most of the time it's, meeting, greeting, and sharing love and warmth.
I see.
So we walked in as two strange sadhus, not really knowing what to do. I didn't even know the protocol at that time.
I see.
But all the around maybe 30, 40 local Arabs and some sheikhs were sitting there. They were very cordial and very warm. This was completely unlike to the things that you heard at that time.
Right.
And I have come to believe that we should listen to people's opinions, but we should form your own. Because your end experience is sometimes far more important. And that goes for life, and that goes for everyone in life. Don't become opinionated. Keep your mind open.
Yes, indeed.
Because if you are different, then the environment or the micro environment around you changes. So when we went in, this is my very first experience, and if you have that time, I'll share with you.
Certainly.
It was like, we walked in, it was evening time into the majlis, and the sheikh was still about to come. And casually, one of the persons sitting in the majlis asked me that, why are your clothes orange? So that was very surprising. Nobody till now in my life has ever asked, why are my clothes orange? And I've never even thought, I know they're a spiritual symbol and I know what they represent, but I've never had now I would say the opportunity of explaining.
Right.
So very naturally and casually, without going into the depths of the scriptures, because I want it to be very natural. And I said, Your Highness, Your Excellencies, we are Hindus, and when we pass away, we are not buried, we are cremated. And the color.
Yes.
So these clothes are the symbol of Tyag, that we have given our entire existence, our body, offered it for the goodness of society. So this is a constant reminder that I am dying every day, every minute, every hour, every second. So to do as much good as I can, to as many people as I can, in as many ways as I can, and as long as I can. So I still remember that moment, very, very, not just understanding, but very happy and they found it very interesting. That is a concept behind what we do. And then our conversation continued on different levels, a little bit on spirituality. And one of the questions that was asked who is the founder of Hinduism and what is the main book of Hinduism?
Right.
Again, I'm telling you, so it's very important that we have dialogues with people who know least about you. We always think that we need to have dialogues with people who have similar beliefs and who think similar. No. What really opens you up and what really tests your beliefs is having dialogues with completely diametrical minds. And even with the faithful or people of no faith, and people who are complete outsiders or strangers, those are the ones who really shape you. So I believe that no religious leader should ever feel affronted if they're asked. My leader, Pramukh Swami, very beautifully encouraged us. I think that was the root seed that allowed me to open up in a very different way. He always used to say that no question is wrong.
Okay.
And no questionnaire is bad. So he would say, if somebody asks you a question, don't think he's against you. Sometimes they ask you out of curiosity, out of ignorance, or just to strike a conversation, or they're trying to be friendly. You go to England, because I was raised in England, every other person would ask you about the weather. Oh, what do you think the weather is going to be? Who doesn't know? And even our conversation is not going to change the weather.
That's right.
It's a complete futile conversation. But that's how you connect.
That's right.
Okay, in the small moments. So he has always encouraged me, my spiritual leader, that, accept questions and the people who question you. And the question, I don't know whether your listeners would value it or not, but the question that came to me, that who was the founder of Hinduism, and what is the main book? Now it's still, is the main book Vedas? Is it Mahabharata? Is it Gita? Is it Ramayana? Is it the Vachanamrit? What is the main book? And who founded Hinduism? Did Lord Rama? Did Lord Krishna? Did Lord Shiva? For us, for other people, the gods they believe in? Did Lord Swami? Who founded Hinduism? These are the questions that really sometimes confuse us. What came to my mind? And was very natural. And I want to say it's not from the scriptures. But I still believe that it was helpful. And initially, I really tried to move away from the question. So I said, Your Excellencies, that this question and the answer to this question may just take a little longer. And like you, they said, we have all the time. Then I said, but this is a very personal question that you have asked. I can answer this question to you, but it's not necessary to make everybody else hear it. But everybody else joined in a chorus. No, we are all interested.
Okay.
So then I said, this is what I remember of that answer. I said, this is a very Western question for an Eastern religion. And one of them said, why? I said, so the question is absolutely correct. Because that's the way everybody has grown up with. I said, but you come down to the East and all those questions become a little more mystical. And how that is, it might be worth knowing that what is a question in one culture may not be a question in another. You know, you talk about a young child living on his own at the age of 18 in America is absolute normal.
Yes.
When you come down to India, it becomes unthinkable. He's left home. What has happened? So a question in a different culture setting may be completely different for a different country. So I said, let me come down to what I'm trying to say. I said, do you or do you not think that every religion is like a stream of knowledge, a river of knowledge that is continuing to nourish the land that it crosses? I said, yes. I said, so Christianity has been flowing for 2,000 years. Islam has been flowing for more than 1,000 years. Buddhism has been flowing for almost 2,500 years. So they've continued to help nourish the people and the lands that they have touched. They said, yes. I said, do you think science is also a stream of knowledge? Because science has continued to enrich human beings. I said, the mobiles that you have, the cars that you have, the ACs and everything that you see have not come out from the Vedas or the Bible, the Quran, or the Torah. They've come out from science. The changes and evolution that you see has come out from science. So science is influencing us.
Yes.
Correct. I said, then I want to ask you, who founded science? And what is the main book of science?
Okay.
Is it Principia Mathematica? Is it the origin of species? Is it the theory of relativity? Because science is so vast. It began with the early man who picked up 2 stones and created a spark. And it continues even in the space when we explore the deep ends of space. Because it's so vast. Every scientist who has come has contributed to science, and every book that has been written has contributed to great wealth of science. As similarly, Hinduism is known as Sanatana Dharma, one without beginning and one without end. And because of its beginningless and endlessness, there is no single founder and there is no single book. Everybody who has been spiritually enlightened in the gamut or spectrum of the Hindu Dharma has added to the richness of this Dharma and helped refine it. And that's how, they were very, very fascinated. And then we talked, and then I asked them that, we have this small issue and this is what has happened. He said, you're a very honest man and we will help. And then my experience with the then rulers who I met, they understood and they were fair.
Okay.
And then they encouraged that if you do want to make a temple, why don't you write a letter? So at that time I was very naive. From Dubai, I wrote a letter to the current king. At that time he was His Highness the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan. And I wrote a letter, not knowing all the intricacies of the systems here. So I'm writing a letter to the ruler of Abu Dhabi saying that can we have a piece of land in Dubai to build a temple? And then we got a reply that yes, we can give you a piece of land in Abu Dhabi. And this was like, so many people said that this is like done so naturally, so lovingly, but it was all based on, I believe, truth, which I have always open-heartedly explained and everything, even about the temple. And then I've always been transparent as I've always gone and talked and discussed. I think it's generated a lot of trust. So I believe this is our little story of the temple, where we had asked for a place in Dubai. And I think it's Pramukh Swami's words that we got a place in Abu Dhabi. And in this entire thing, one of the greatest role that was being played was by our Honorable Prime Minister.
I see. Okay.
Because of his friendship with the current ruler and his love, and then both their will, and actually wanting to do something that transcends the, I'm saying that transcends the transience of trade.
Yes.
It's not just GDP, GNP. This temple is a contribution to the massive civilization of humanity. How do you measure it in GDP, GNP? It's not possible. And they had that vision. And then it was in 2015 when our Honorable Prime Minister, before that, when he became, he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat,
Yes.
I had casually talked to him that we've had these conversations and maybe we might have a chance to make a temple. But when he became the Prime Minister and he was coming, so kind and gentle and humble of him, he did call us. He said, what was your, this talk about the temple, because I'm going to go there. And then he took it up.
I see.
He took up a cause, which was perhaps not in the plans, but he believes in culture, he believes in values. And then they had discussed, and that's when the first announcement of the Mandir, allotment of the temple land was done.
I see.
And symbolically, he did it, the Prime Minister did it while he was in the Grand Mosque.
I see. Okay.
And he thanked the ruler, and he also thanked him in a big way in a huge stadium as well. And it brought a wave of joy. And then after that, we went down to the government, because, you have to do all the nitty-gritty.
Yes.
And as we met the ruler, all the government officers, so first we had to explain what a temple is like. So we could do a traditional temple which is done out of stone, which takes a few years.
Yes.
Or we could do the concrete, or a temple which looks like a normal building.
Okay.
But you can still put the murtis of God and we can do worship. So I explained both. And at that time I was debating in my own mind that most likely it would be the low-key, almost invisible, less prominent, one of the structures or building which look like a normal building in Abu Dhabi. You could make something like that. But no, in 2018, when our Prime Minister came again, and he's in the presidential palace, that, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, our senior leader, Puji Ishwar Swami, and our Prime Minister, we were all there. And in front of maybe 1,500 or 2,000 delegates from across the world, and most important people, I presented both plans to His Highness. And I said, this is the normal building where we can be completely, very gentle, and it's just like any Abu Dhabi building, and we can do our mandir inside there. Or if you want a traditional stone carved mandir, he said, look, if it's a temple, it should look like a temple. Look at the generosity. Look at the space in his heart. And I was really taken aback at that time. If you see those clippings or those videos, I was like aghast. I said, wow,
I see.
What love. And I felt that at that moment. And that's when I remember the casual words I'm sharing. Our Prime Minister, Modi Sahib, came close to me and he said, I and His Highness are like brothers. The Highness drew me closer. He said, all three of us are brothers. What a way.
Wow, okay.
What a way to approve the temple. What a way. And since that day, then he sent his brother, His Highness Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan to Akshardham in Delhi.
Okay.
He spent almost, instead of half an hour, he spent almost 2 hours looking at all the mandir, murtis and all the carvings.
Okay.
And then on the temple steps, very proudly he said that, he told the ambassador, Mr. Ambassador, tell this His Holiness that it was I who went to my brother to talk about the temple, and he wants a temple that looks like a temple.
I see.
So bring in the carvings, bring in the love, and bring in the freedom what spirituality brings. So that was an experience which was completely transforming. Because all the stories that you've heard about the Middle East, and I tell everybody who may be listening, all the stories that filter through and you hear about what's happening, this place is different. UAE, their leadership and their heart is very large, and they give you that freedom. And it also reminds me of the beautiful words that my spiritual leader always encouraged me with. A religion should be as gentle as a breeze. So you and I would love to sit in it, just like now.
That's right.
But the moment it becomes a wind, people shut windows.
Yes.
The challenge and the problem with many religious leaders today is they've become a force. And because of that wind, people may belong to them, but they don't believe in them. And they don't feel the freedom. So His Holiness Pramukh Swami always encouraged that spirituality should be very gentle and should give you the freedom. Like, if I can't give you the freedom here, then how do I promise you freedom in the heavens above? So it was a very different way that he encouraged us to come into this place, and very truthfully, because at times people were there. He said, when you are writing a letter, in that letter, don't use the word temple, because temples will have murtis, and because it's a murtis, then you might not get the permission. Our spiritual leader said, be honest, be truthful. And we did right. And look at that heart. I think the greater appreciation for all of us should be the heart of the leadership, who have allowed, and not just allowed, but respected and now protected. So this is the short journey of almost 10 years of talking, explaining, with all the challenges that came in the way about Corona and then the wars and so many things.
So I was noticing, this is a magnificent building, and so much planning and so much work must have gone behind it. And I think it's emblematic of the strong and robust ties that exist between India and the UAE. And it's amazing that this structure has come up over here, this holy structure with all the murtis and all that in the Middle East. I was here last in 2002. It was unthinkable at the time that something like this would happen. So what has changed in the Middle East, and what is special about the UAE that this incredible respect and tolerance and openness exists over here today? Incredible respect and tolerance and openness exists over here today.
I think, the greatest credit, or I believe in any country that has a royal lineage, it's the vision and the magnanimity of the leadership.
Yes.
And the leaders of the UAE have a vision that is global. And it's not just about themselves. You can see there can be rulers and even kings who are wealthy, who are strong and powerful.
Indeed.
But it does not generate to the community level.
Yes.
And here, the rulers really want to take the nation and the people forward. And people may say so many things, but if you have space in your heart, this is what you can get. And lots of things have changed, because the laws that have changed, they have generated even, special sub-laws that encourage not just trade, but people coming in, people wanting to settle. Like simple, the announcement of this temple And so many Indians came up to me, and I've explained to the leadership as well, that they suddenly started buying plots. And in our very initial conversation, I'll take you back, that one of the things I had presented, I said, UAE and Dubai, this is in the early 2010 and 11.
Okay.
And I had presented that, you have everything, great buildings, you have infrastructure, you have everything. I said, what about the emotional infrastructure? I said, unless a nation has emotional infrastructure, people would always have a home away from this home. You understand? You always have a home somewhere else.
Indeed.
I said, when you have an emotional infrastructure, and emotional infrastructure comes through inner beliefs.
Yes.
Where you feel not just safe. It's not about just safety. It's about emotional comfort. And that is when people respect your gods and your beliefs, whatever they may be. That's how, strength develops. And I believe the leadership here have not just, done everything politically right or even commercially right, and everything that, as you want to create a society, all the social laws and everything. But so in that way, they have entered those fields. Most governments would say, we just take care of the economy, we take care of infrastructure, and then people find their own way through the thick and thin of the emotional roadmaps.
And there's a lot to see out there in the West, especially.
Yeah, not just the West, in many countries that adopt that.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that has changed because I believe the leadership.
Now, you were involved in the planning, the designing of the mandir. Could you throw some light on that? How was that process?
So initially, when we were approved that, make a traditional stone temple. And of course, I would go back to our spiritual leader, that is His Holiness Swami Maharaj. And we have a team, Puja Ishwarchandra Swami and a whole team that has been building temple. And I'm also a part of that team, which has built Akshardhams and which has built the temple in London and other places around the world.
Okay.
But this is different. It's absolutely different. It's the first traditional stone temple in this part of the world in the history of humanity. And I think you understand, and perhaps your listeners understand, to what depth that goes.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So historically it's the first. So of course it's historic and iconic. So as we sat down, ideas emerged, and we are a part of that team. And as we sat down, we thought that, what is missing in UAE? Rivers.
Rivers.
So I said, India and our culture has grown around rivers. So let's bring in Ganga, Yamuna and Saraswati.
Okay.
Take that. And you brought the life and the spirit of the culture that we want.
Yes.
And that's most universal.
Yes.
So we said, okay, how do we bring those rivers? And to bring rivers in a desert, you'll have wadis, you'll have oases. Okay.
Yes.
And where these three rivers come together, and what we call Prayag.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the most holiest place.
Yes.
So I said, let's create an idea that revolves around rivers. And then where the rivers get together, a mandir should rise. These were our initial ideas. I myself sat down with the pen and sketch pens and started roughly writing and designing. And then we had a very good architect. His name is Michael McGill. He's a Catholic and an Irishman, British.
I see.
And so we discussed. Before that, almost 10 to 11 big architects had come forward because this project was so iconic. It's the first. It's almost like landing on the moon.
Indeed. Yes.
Yeah, literally.
Yes.
It's almost like that.
It's almost
never happened.
Yeah.
And there were not even laws of how to accommodate a mandir, in which way and how. All of these have gone so far to help us. They actually created a Department of Community Development to oversee, and then brought all other religious organizations under that. So it's generated so much new dimensions in so many fields.
Okay.
But let me come back to the design. There's the other thing which I was always fascinated by. Again, I'm sharing this first time on the screen. Or to anybody, but as a child, I was always fascinated by Stonehenge in England.
Okay.
Because I always thought, 7,000 years ago,
right,
huge, massive stone blocks standing on each other, and they still stand.
They do.
They still stand.
Yes.
So many other buildings have gone. Stonehenge stands.
Yes.
And there was a pattern.
Yes.
And it was always like that. So two things which were always brewing up in our mind is, how do I make this ancient? And the idea of monolithic. Anything that is monolithic becomes ancient.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And this idea of rivers. All right. So we sat down for hours and talked and discussed and bounced ideas back. And then this idea emerged that, one expert had also said that you are building it in the desert. And the temple is going to be carved. So how do you protect the temple from dust storms so it doesn't weather away the carvings? Over time, it will. And I believe graceful aging, like you've not dyed your hair, is classic. So I'm just trying to say, over time, to age gracefully is very important.
Yes,
okay?
it is. Yes.
So I said, even temples over time, as they age gracefully, it's fine.
Yes.
But how do we protect them naturally? So one expert had told us that if you have buildings at a certain space in certain distance around the temple, any dust storm that comes, the force of the dust storm will be completely, stunted, by these buildings, all right? And you make them very monolithic and simple, so they are not least damaged, and yet it protects the temple. So both through planting trees and both through, strategically locating these buildings, you will actually help it in the long term. So if you can see the design here, we've got the auditorium is at a certain angle at a certain place.
Yes.
Then the Sant Ashram is at a certain place. The community center is a certain place. Then the Majlis is at a certain place. Then the Ghat is at a certain place. So then we form that. And now coming down, the other idea or the design element was, if you look at the buildings surrounding the temple, they are minimalistic, modern, monolithic.
Okay.
Far from distance, you would look as if they are emerging from the sands.
Okay.
So if an archaeologist is trying to discover something, and these are the rocks that he would find. So they're almost rock-like.
Right.
Okay. And as you go in, you see, surrounded by the xeriscape of the desert, you suddenly see gardens. Now you see we are sitting there. These will all be gardens with palm trees and everything. That's an oasis.
Okay.
Okay. And as you go around the temple, the Ganga goes around to the right of the temple, and the Yamuna goes to the left of the temple. So when we walk in, is to our left. Okay. Where the Ganga passes, we have the Varanasi Ghat.
Okay.
So the Ghat that we are sitting on, we've taken the template of an original Varanasi Ghat.
Okay.
And then made it a little modern with the spaces and all the dimensions in the right way. So we've created a complete modern minimalistic, buildings that surround and protect it from the sandstone and still give it that flavor. And you can see the buildings are so minimalistic that they don't get in the way of the temple. And the temple is ornately carved.
Yes.
There's the other thing that emerged later on.
Okay.
So this was not a thought, but now as I look at it, you look at the Arabic dress.
Yes.
It's either black or either white.
Yes.
Okay, simple, simplistic. And Indian dresses normally are very ornamental.
They are.
So this is also a combination of two cultures.
Okay,
you have
it is,
the simplistic, okay, and the temple is profusely carved.
Yes, I saw that.
So this is the idea that we had. The other idea of having 7 shikhars for the temple was to pay our respect to the 7 emirates. Okay. And symbolically. And inside to have the 7 main deities from north, east, west, south of the Hindu spirituality.
Yes.
So we have the Lord Rama, the entire Ram Parivar, Sita Ram, Lakshman and Hanumanji in one of the shrines. In the other shrine, we have the Shiva Parivar, Lord Shiva, Parvati, Ganapati and Kartikeyaji.
Okay.
And then we have Jagannathji from the east, Lord Jagannath.
Yes.
So he's there. And then we have Radha Krishna.
Okay.
So that is also one of the spires. We have Akshar Purushottam, the images, the murtis of Bhagavan Swami Narayan and Gunatitan Swami. Then we have the murtis of Padmavati and Tirupati Balaji from the south. And then we have Ayappaji. So these are the 7 shikhars that enshrine 7 Hindu deities. The other thing that emerged, which is all natural. It's not that we sat and said we want to do this. No, it's all emerged naturally. We wanted a spiritual oasis for global harmony that we find in the desert, protected by the minimalism of modernism. Okay, because this mandir, it's not just bringing cultures and religions and spirituality together. It's also bringing science and spirituality. You know, and even all our scriptures and all our moral tales. The other thing I have often said and discovered as I've moved along in life, that normally so many things divide. Our cultures divide, languages divides, our dressing divides, food divides.
Yes.
Okay. Our propensity, likes and dislikes divide. But values are same. Love is love in every culture. Harmony is harmony. Courage is courage.
Yes.
Patience is patience. So I've also thought that distill the values out from every religion, and the temple is founded on values. As you enter, if you can see the 8, special murtis that we've created, one of the murti is the murti of truth.
Okay.
That's developed.
Okay.
The murti of charity, the murti of love. You understand? So we have 8 murtis where our Sanatan Dharma has been founded upon. Satya, Ahimsa, Daya. So all that, all the murtis are there. Then if you see the Jagati around, all the iconic historic figures of saints and sages and acharyas who have played a part in bringing or, sustaining values have all been placed on the plinth. So the mandir stands on a plinth of values.
Right.
Okay. But it's not just limited to us, because if you go up into the shikhars, and I think you should when you get time, the entire Shiva Shikhar, the entire Shiva Puran has been carved.
Okay.
Very few temples in India where the entire Shiva Puran has been carved. If you go to Jagannathi Shikhar, outside, the entire Jagannath Yatra, Rath Yatra has been carved.
Okay.
And then the Shikhar where Lord Krishna is there, the Bhagavat and the Mahabharata has been carved.
Okay.
Around Swaminarayan Shikhar, this Lord life of Swaminarayan, then Tirupati's life, then Yappa's life, and then come down to the great and perhaps everybody's favorite, when you go down the Rama Shikhar, entire Ramayana, right from the ancient Ayodhya to the point that Lord Rama comes back to Ayodhya after the defeat of Ravan. Everything has been hand carved.
Hand carved.
So it's like an encyclopedia of all our scriptures. Is there a place where all this
I can think of
carved? I can't. We've built temples, but I can't think of that. And that has emerged because of signifying the unity of Hinduism. But we didn't leave it there.
Okay.
Because one wise man, and I think I should give him the credit completely. One wise man, when I was walking in the streets of Dubai, suddenly he stopped his car, came out of his car, and did a complete Shastang Pranam to me. And I'm so respectful of him. He is Vamadev Shastri, David Frohlich.
Wow, okay.
He's Padma Bhushan.
I know, yeah.
What a wise man.
Yes.
So thoughtful, so loving. And he did a Panchang, and he knows me. I was surprised that this is on the footpath.
I see.
And I held his hand, and you know what he told me? He said, Your Holiness, till now BAPS has built 1,200 temples across the world, and they are all inspirational. They inspire people. After building Akshardham, they've become generational. They'll inspire generation after generation. But he said this one temple in Abu Dhabi is civilizational.
Okay.
You're bringing civilizations closer together. Those words touched me deeply years back. So when we were carving, and suddenly this idea emerged that let's bring back to life ancient civilizations.
I see.
Because Ramayana is also ancient.
It is.
Mahabharata is ancient.
Yes.
So then we did research in the ancient civilizations of the world. So we've taken a story from the Mayan civilization.
I saw that, yeah.
We've taken a story from the Arabian civilization, then the Egyptian civilization,
Yes.
where the heart is weighed against a feather.
A feather, yes.
And if your heart is lighter than a feather, you go to heaven.
Yes.
It's about purity. So like that, from the Chinese civilization, when we've taken one from the European civilization, from the African civilization. So I think perhaps there is no place of worship that includes not just the beliefs of the believing, but humanity and also civilization. And this is how the carvings have been done. And this is how the entire the planning of the project has grown. And apart from the temple, we have an assembly hall which can seat about 3,000 people, where people can come, religious people can come, and they can have cultural events as well. So that's what we did. Then we'll have a community center, and community people can come for their community needs. Then we have a small exhibition tent where people understand more things about life. Then we have classrooms for dialogues. So this will, and it is destined to become a spiritual oasis for global harmony. All we had gone once in the royal Majlis was that we have, can you please sort this out? That
Right.
we have 2 rooms and we want to make it into 1. And this is what we ended up with. And that's why I say often, very often, that one wise man is very well respected around the world. He messaged me once. He said, "Your Holiness, this is like a Cinderella story. You are turning fairy tales into reality. In times to come, there'll be legends about Swaminand sadhus having dialogues with Islamic kings, just as there are legends about Buddhist monks having dialogues with Chinese emperors."
That's quite an analogy, but
so
it's apt.
he said that you think you are doing it in UAE, but the world is watching. And that was said to me by S. Jaishankar.
Dr. S. Jaishankar.
Yes.
I see. He was here recently, wasn't he?
What a man. He has encouraged us, and he said publicly that if he has to single out a few moments which are most touching in his life, and if he's sitting with his grandchildren, of course, all the great things that have happened around in his life are important, but this he would single out, that the announcement of the temple and seeing it come up is perhaps the most important thing for humanity.
Right. So we have about 35 days left to go, roughly, for the inauguration. And Prime Minister Modi himself is coming.
Yes.
So almost ready, but the finishing touches being put on this?
Yeah, I'll tell you, like I say, we can see the shores, I can hear the seagulls.
Yes.
But there is still a lot of finishing touches to do.
Okay.
But we've come a long way. Even experts, recently one man who told me that, he's built half of the Dubai. Very big man. Somebody I respect. He says, "Swami, this would take 6 months to complete." But he said, miracles still do happen.
Okay.
And we know you will make it. And if you had seen this 2 months ago, you would have said, our leaders also said that maybe it will finish in July or April. But I think you come after 15 days, or I'll send you some pictures after 15 days. It should be finished completely, where we're just doing the finishing touches.
Right. So this year, 2024, there are 2 civilizational events essentially. One is the inauguration of the Ram Mandir, and this is another massive thing. I mean, it's historic. Is there something special happening this year? What's going on?
Personally, I believe whenever something like this happens, the both events are, mind transforming.
Yes.
And I think both of them should be uplifting and future building. Of course, the events have their roots in the past.
Yes.
Correct. But I think it should help us cross the bridge. Even after building the bridge, if you don't cross the bridge, there's nobody more foolish than you.
Right.
So it helps us cross the bridge, and bridging people, bridging minds, and bridging the world together And as you put it this way, of course, there'll be so many horoscope experts and so many, Jyotishis, and everybody will be telling. It's happening because of, I believe, God's grace, God's will. Sometimes we do not have the power to understand the mysterious ways that God works.
Yes.
Okay. Scientists like you would call it pure physics.
I would not actually.
Okay. But no, then deeper scientists then like you would call it more than physics. Okay. So I wanted to say that people choose to understand events in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
But if you personally asked me, I think 2024 is very important.
Mm.
And not because I see things in it, no, because of what happens. Pramukh Swami always told me one thing, that there will be miracles after miracles happening in everybody's life.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you sit down, there will be so many events in your life that you think could never have happened but have happened.
Yes.
Because they are so small, you don't want to say it. Okay. How many times we've sat in the exam and the question that you had prepared comes up. It's not you made it happen. It happened.
It happened.
Okay. And we do not see those small things, but even these large things like these. So he often said there'll be miracles after miracles in everybody's life.
Mm-hmm.
But the greatest miracle that you can work is the one that you work with your own life.
Yes.
The moment you change, you transform, and you rise beyond your own limitation. So what both mandirs will do is help people rise beyond the past.
Indeed.
It will also help all of us reshape the future. It will create greater harmony. I think we should respect everything that's happening.
Yes.
And I do believe that something special is there for 2024. And our prayers are there that, let the whole world come together to both events and let the world celebrate. So very often we celebrate our own events. And it's just us for us.
Us for us, yes.
But Hinduism is not like that.
It's not.
It's global.
Yes.
And I believe, both events and other events that will follow will make 2024 very special.
Could you throw a little bit of light on the organization BAPS, because I am sure many people would be curious but may not know enough about it. Could you briefly explain what the mission and purpose is and the origins?
The BAPS Swaminarayan Sanstha is a socio-spiritual organization. It's part of the mainstream Hindu Dharma.
Yes.
And the Swaminarayan Sampradaya was founded by Bhagwan Swaminarayan.
Yes.
He was born in Chappaya, near Ayodhya. As a child, he spent a lot of time in Ayodhya, visiting all the mandirs from Hanuman Gadi to Ram Mandirs at that time. And then, as a young child, he left his home and became a renunciate at the age of 11.
Okay.
For 7 years, he traveled across India from the Himalayas. He went to Mansarovar. He meditated in Muktinath, and he traveled without any food, any resources, just faith. And as he went to all the mosques and religious places and pilgrimage places of India from north to south, and then he came to Gujarat and he settled there. He found that deeper sense of spirituality, and that's when he decided to form the Swaminarayan Sampradaya there.
Okay.
At that time, he was welcomed by Ramanand Swami, his guru, who straight away, when he saw, at that time his name was Nilkanthwani. As a child, his name was Gansham. And then at that time, his name was Nilkanthwani, and he was given the Diksha and given the name of Sahajanand. And then he gave the name Swaminarayan. Swami means the devotee, and Narayan means God. Like you have Lakshmi Narayan.
Yes.
So like that, Swaminarayan.
Uh-huh.
So then it's a devout bhakti sampradaya, where we believe that your attachment or your devotion to God redeems you. And devotion is not just sitting in a mandir and chanting rosary. The larger meaning of devotion is serving humanity. So that is a very big part. That's why the idea of socio-spiritual organization has emerged. So after Bhagavan Swaminarayan, he revealed Gunatitanand Swami as his spiritual successor.
Okay.
So it's not about, in many other sampradayas, it would be like a family thing where the son or the family members become the leaders. Here it's all about spiritual merit. So Bhagavan Swaminarayan made Gunatitanand Swami his spiritual successor, who is also the incarnation of Akshar Brahm. That's how we get our philosophy of Akshar and Purushottam, Swami and Narayan, Brahm and Parabrahm. So that's our philosophy, the core philosophy. And then after that, Bhagatji Maharaj was the next spiritual leader, and he was not a monk. He was a grihasti. So another part of the BAPS Swaminarayan Sampradaya is, it's genuinely the spiritual successor is the leader who is spiritually most worthy. It's not about a sadhu or a grihastha. So Bhagatji Maharaj, he also came at that time, I'm talking about in the 1880s.
I see.
He came from the Darji community. So in those times, the caste was very strong, but Bhagavan Swaminarayan completely abolished the caste system. Very early. He's the one who campaigned against, Sati Pratha and things that, where young girls or women were, marginalized. So he gave them, education. He gave them that, special rights. And Bhagavan Swaminarayan really campaigned for the cause of women as well. So he created a sampradaya which is founded on the pure principles of Hindu faith, all our faith, where we believe in normal Hindus, we do not eat meat, no liquor, purity of life, so all those 5 major elements. So we believe in that, and all our devotees practice that. But then through the spiritual succession, institutionalized BAPS on that sanstha, because you may have a sampradaya, but unless you have the charity commissioner, and then you institutionalize it. So that was done in 1907. The BAPS Swami. So in institution wise, legally it's about 110 or 12 years old. But spiritually, it was founded by Bhagavan Swaminarayan, so it's more than 230-40 years old. So that's how it's gone through. Then came Yogiji Maharaj, and then came Pramukh Swami Maharaj, who took it worldwide. He's the one who created 1200 temples, Pramukh Swami Maharaj. What a wonderful spiritual leader. With my respect to every spiritual leader that I meet, and my head bows down with greatest humility. When Pramukh Swami Maharaj was a leader part, very humble, very gentle. I'll give you one simple example that, once I entered his room, and there was a sheaf of paper on his bed. So I went to touch it. He said, nope. He said, Tara kamna nahi, because they are not, yours. So you don't need to touch them. I looked at them from far, and I saw they were all typed in English. It was the Guinness Book of World Records had typed out all the temples he had built. They'd done their research and found out that they were real temples, and then made a sheaf of paper, huge sheet. And they were in English, and Pramukh Swami could never understand or read English. So I said, Swami, aapke kaam ke bhi nahi hai, because you don't understand English. So then I looked at it and I said, look, wow, it's a list of all the temples you built. Hundreds and hundreds. And I said, so when was the temple you built in Mahuda? He couldn't remember. I said, when did you build the temple in Africa? He couldn't remember. I said, what about the temple in Mumbai? He didn't have dates, or even the year. He very lovingly smiled. He said, I'm translating it into English, but I'll say it in Gujarati first. Ke je mandir bandhe, a list na banave. And je list banave, mandir bandhi na sakya. Those who make lists can't make mandirs, and those who make mandirs can't make lists.
Indeed.
So he was a very humble, genuine spiritual saint who encouraged us. And it's his words that may there be a temple in Abu Dhabi at the bedrock, of this temple that's being made. So after that, we have Mahant Swami Maharaj. His Holiness Pramukh Swami passed away in 2016, and almost 2.1 million people turned up just for his final darshan. He was in a small village. The whole Gujarat stood still. People from all across the world, they came up to pay their respect. But he was, He was somebody that everybody still respects. Okay. And now Guru Hari Mahan Swami Maharaj is also very spiritual, very quiet. He has completely redefined the meaning of a smile and silence.
I see.
An amazing spiritual leader who inspires me to this day. Almost 3 years ago, when Corona was at its peak, when everything was shut down, he wrote a letter to me. 2020 May. He wrote a letter to me, which I kept it very close. I've never revealed.
Okay.
Now is the time to reveal.
Okay.
At that time, 2020, where every business had gone, most of our donors had disappeared. Okay. Then there was no movement through transport. Stones could not be brought in from Italy. Italy was in a shutdown, could not get marble.
Yes.
Everything was chaos. We did not know how long Corona would last.
Yes.
Nobody knew.
Nobody knew.
We had predictions and probabilities, but nobody knew. We were so scared. At that time, he wrote a 4.5-page letter to me. And you know what he wrote in that letter? Amongst all the temples that we have built, this will be the finest. 2020, he's written.
I see.
And then he says that the ambassador of UAE and ambassador of India will come together. And then he said, ambassadors from the world will come together. And then he has said that the kings and the rulers, they shall support. And he also said that take this land and there will be 100 miracles. And this temple will be done sooner than you think. And you will hear the positive vibrations of harmony across the world. And now we sit here.
Now we sit here.
He wrote that 3.5 years ago. All those words are there. So this, I believe in the blessings and the grace of God and the Guru and good-hearted people like you. Even a child has the power to bless you. If you touch his heart, he'll say a prayer. All our forefathers who have prayed that may there be a temple here, they have been praying. It's the result of everybody. This is too huge for any individual, and it's still impossible for any one organization. And I say it with all humility. It's not something that we can do. It is something that was willed to happen. And that's why I believe that it is going to bring people and revive our belief that we can coexist and harmony is the future.
Indeed, indeed. I have a lot more questions to ask you, but I'll ask you one more because the light is fading.
Then we can talk in darkness.
We can? So, this project is near completion. A whole lot of people have worked over here. They're going to move on somewhere else. Maybe you may also go somewhere else. And lots of devotees will come here and move on with their lives. What is the message you want to give to everyone? That what should they take from here? And how should they conduct their life in order to make the world a better place?
See, I believe the message that I have learned in making this is just to respect everyone is not enough. We need to accept them as they are. You know, many times we respect people and we want them to change. But, you know, we've had this idea of live and let live. But I think we should also have the idea of believe and let believe.
Indeed.
It's very important. And I believe that if you become open-hearted, you know, one thing that keeps coming to my mind very often, that, you know, if God created our world, and if God did not value diversity, or if God did not believe in harmony, He would have just created one flower with one color. But the fact He has created thousands of flowers with millions of colors tells me that He believes in harmony and He believes in uniqueness. You know, and if God really did not believe in harmony and diversity, He would have created one face and one race.
Yeah.
Come on, there are so many faces, 8 billion faces.
Yes.
And many, many races.
Yes.
Somewhere up there, God believes in harmony. And I believe harmony can only be generated by being a little kinder.
Hmm.
I don't think there is, a huge rocket science. I think that we had gone to Ukraine to help as well. Even during COVID, BAPS Swami Sanstha was one of the biggest organizations that was sending oxygen, liquid oxygen from here and everybody else to India to help all the people to breathe better. In COVID, then after in Ukraine, when our volunteers were helping every refugee that crossed the borders between Poland and Ukraine, we set up a small camp in Jesov. I was overseeing it.
Okay.
And with all the other people, the Indian students that came out, one little boy who was an Ukrainian, he came out with neighbors. And, Pramukh Swami had always encouraged, like I said, when I met Kalam in Bhuj, it was because we were doing seva and service in the earthquake.
Okay.
So Pramukh Swami is always encouraged to help people with the smallest needs. So normally at wartime, you won't think of taking toothbrushes. But our volunteers took packets of toothbrushes as well because they knew for 7 days or 10 days they've been walking, they would not have anything to carry. So this little boy is asking for a toothbrush.
Okay.
So the volunteers had a toothbrush. The boy hugged him.
Okay.
And the volunteer called me. He said, Swami, this boy, he can't speak English. He's Ukrainian. So I said, if there are anybody, ask the people around him. And the people said that his parents were still fighting the war.
I see.
And they had asked them to take this boy out. Okay. And so I said, okay, so make the boy feel comfortable. Ask the Ukrainians to translate what I say. So I said, ask him, how is he? What does he want? What does he want to be when he grows up?
Yes.
You ask a child and he'll just talk about being a rocket science or an astronaut or a pilot or a footballer. This little boy, he didn't say he wanted to be a footballer or a farmer or an engineer or a doctor. You know what he said? I just want to be kind when I grow up. What power! He brought tears to my eyes. He said, I want to be kind when I grow up. We have focused on turning our children into doctors, engineers, and experts. But what about being kind? He saw so much agony that he thought being kind is perhaps the greatest achievement he can do. And then, it doesn't end there. They had gone to settle in Austria.
Okay.
His parents had already come out. The boy brought the parents to Dubai to meet me.
Okay.
Imagine kindness, what kindness can do. A little boy, he has taught me that kindness is the need of the hour for the world. Can you be a little kinder to your neighbors, to your people, to your own children? Don't be judgmental. Can you be kinder to other leaders? Can you be kinder to people who make mistakes? Can you be kinder to animals? Can you be kinder to environment that helps you? I think being kind is very important, and Pramukh Swami has taught me, Mahan Swami, our spiritual leader, has taught me, if this temple, if anybody comes and it teaches people to be kinder to everybody around them, then I think it will become a spiritual oasis for global harmony. It's a very simple, I believe, value, which anybody, you don't have to kick the cat that comes to you. You don't have to crush the cockroach that flies. The cockroach doesn't even know you exist. He's not come to harm you.
Yeah.
Our words, be a little kinder. And I think that would be the way forward.
Absolutely. Kindness is the need of the hour. These troubled times.
And it's not a great formula that people can't do. I'm not giving you something that is unreachable.
Indeed, that's the thing.
He's saying it. A temple which could have been anywhere other place in the world. It's like, how do I explain? It's like saying hello. If I say hello to you in a room, only you can hear.
Yes.
But if I say hello from the moon, the world hears.
Yes.
So this temple is like a hello from the moon. That the whole world knows that it is a result of love. It's not a result of negotiations.
True. Very true.
It's a result of genuine love, of genuine tolerance.
Right.
And it's a result of almost 60,000 people have come to put a brick. Abhijit-ji, they have come from all walks of life. And I often say, and I think this is something that the world should know, that imagine a Muslim king donating land for a Hindu temple,
Yes.
where our lead architect is a Christian Catholic,
Yes.
where our project manager was a Sikh Sardarji,
Okay.
where our foundation designer is a Buddhist,
I see.
Dr. Kong.
Okay.
Yes, where the construction company that is helping us build everything is a Parsi,
Okay.
Shapurji,
Yes.
and then where our director comes from a Jain tradition.
Okay.
Can you imagine that everything is happening? If you come to the temple and the first wall that greets you is the wall of harmony, which we've designed and created, it's been built, and it's been built by volunteers and everybody, but it's been gifted by the Bora community.
Okay.
Imagine, come to a temple and people are coming forward. The first langar that will be given when the temple will be opened will be given by the Sikh Darbar community.
Okay.
So they are the ones who are going to come forward. Then the Parsis have come forward to create a very beautiful light and sound show. So everybody has come forward. A little boy, a young boy, a very powerful thinker and designer who is helping us with all the intricate designs of the Abhishek Mandap. He comes from the Islamic tradition.
Okay.
So everybody has come. And if you analyze the workers who have worked, they have come from every country that you can think of.
I see.
So again, I believe that it's the will of God that the stars have aligned and the hearts and minds have aligned.
Truly a 21st century miracle, a beacon of hope in the desert. Swamiji, I'm going to end this conversation here. I have so many more questions to ask you. Maybe in part 2 we can do that. But thank you so much for hosting me here. It's truly a privilege that I can be here today before it is inaugurated, and all the best for the inauguration. And
then please come for the inauguration.
I would love to. I would love to.
You are invited.
Thank you so much.
There's no formality in it. Please come. I would love to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.